Let's jump right in. Today we're mapping out one of the most phenomenal, absolutely insane rags to riches stories in sports history. We're looking at exactly how a disadvantaged kid from a tiny island overcame intense poverty and even massive medical emergencies to become football's deadliest winger. I'm talking, of course, about Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay, let's dive into this by asking a question that literally sparks endless, heated debate among football fans everywhere. Which version of Cristiano Ronaldo do you actually think was his absolute peak, right? Like some might immediately point to his prolific, record-smashing years in Madrid. Others are going to argue for that unbelievable Champions League three-peat era. But I want to make the case today that no football player in history comes close to a very specific version of Ronaldo way before he ever put on that famous white shirt.
Just look at the 2007-08 season. In just 49 matches, he delivered 50 goal contributions. That's 42 goals and 8 assists. To put that into perspective, he was just 23 years old, and he was operating on the wing, not as a traditional striker. He was, for all intents and purposes, completely unplayable. Literally, no defender on earth could stop him. But to really grasp this terrifying peak, we have to rewind and look at the foundation he was built on.
Because to get to those dizzying heights, he started from unimaginable lows. Born in 1985 on the Portuguese island of Madeira, Ronaldo grew up in gripping, extreme poverty. His mother works tirelessly as a cook and cleaner, while his father, a traumatized former soldier who had fought in Angola, battled severe alcoholism. Young Cristiano was skipping meals, sweeping streets, and playing street football with makeshift goals and a ball literally made out of rags. It's a stark reminder of how raw, generational talent often stems from making the absolute most out of having absolutely nothing.
Now, his sheer hatred of losing, which ironically enough earned him the childhood nickname Crybaby, pushed him into the local academy where his father actually worked as a kidman. He stood out almost immediately, earning a transfer to one of the island's biggest clubs, Nacional. And the fee? Just 20. And no, not 20 million, 20 footballs and some training equipment. I mean, it is a stunning, almost laughable contrast to the multi-million-dollar mega deals he'd command later in his career.
So leaving the island for Sporting Lisbon's famous academy didn't magically fix his hardships. Honestly, it amplified them. He was incredibly homesick, he was ruthlessly mocked by the other kids for his thick Madeira accent, and like any growing teenager, he was constantly starving, but he had zero money. He and his friends would actually wait outside the local McDonald's late at night, basically begging pitying employees for leftover burgers. It was a humbling, intensely difficult period of survival. The frustration was so high, he was even expelled from school for throwing a chair at a teacher who he felt had disrespected him.
Then, at just 15 years old, he hit a hurdle that almost ended it all right there: tachycardia. This means his heart was beating at a resting rate of over 100 beats a minute. The stakes here literally couldn't be higher. It meant he might have to quit football entirely. But Sporting made a dramatic, high-stakes choice to have doctors operate, using a laser to cauterize parts of his heart. The tension must have been absolutely unbelievable, but thankfully the surgery was a complete success. Within days, he was back on the pitch and running faster than ever. And this is where we see one of the most explosive developmental sprints in football history. Because of his obsessive, laser-focused dedication following his surgery, an astonishing thing happened when he turned 16. In a single season, his lightning-quick talent tore through Sporting's under-16 team, then the under-17s, the under-18s, the B team, and finally culminated in his senior team debut. That's 5 different squads in 1 year. He was super skinny, sure, but he was dribbling through entire teams single-handedly.
Naturally, that kind of raw potential caught the eye of Sir Alex Ferguson. After a preseason friendly where Ronaldo completely dismantled Manchester United's defense, an 18-year-old Ronaldo arrived in Manchester on a £12 million transfer. And Ferguson? He handed him the legendary number 7 shirt. Talk about crushing expectations. But the pressure didn't break him. Following his debut, United legend George Best called it undoubtedly the most exciting debut performance I've ever seen. He won a penalty with these dazzling skills, and suddenly, the whole world was watching.
Now, what's really interesting about this era is the massive gap between perception and reality. The media quickly labeled him the show pony. Pundits hammered his elaborate stepovers and his dyed noodle hair, claiming his party pieces were basically useless without an end product. Opponents actively targeted him, trying to kick him out of the game. Even his own teammates, like Paul Scholes, were driven up the wall by his showing off. But here is the ultimate takeaway for anyone facing heavy criticism. He didn't complain, he adapted. He realized he needed to transform into a physical machine, so he literally started putting weights on his ankles during training just to build up his physical strength.
And you know, this physical and mental transformation was forged in an incredibly brutal, tough-love environment. Sir Alex Ferguson would routinely unleash his infamous hairdryer treatment, getting right in his face and screaming, "Who do you think you are?" It literally brought the young winger to tears in front of his teammates, but it forced him to confront his weaknesses. He also had these brutal clashes with star striker Ruud van Nistelrooy, who berated him in training for not crossing the ball. It was a high-intensity pressure cooker, designed specifically to break him down only to build him up so much stronger.
But the emotional anchor of his entire journey struck in 2005. While away on international duty, Ronaldo received the devastating news that his father had passed away from liver failure due to a lifetime of drinking. He was just 20 years old, and his response to his coach was heartbreakingly resilient. He said, "I can't do anything for my father today, so I'll play tomorrow." He channeled that profound, overwhelming grief into an absolute drive to succeed, keeping his father's ashes at his home and talking to them regularly to stay motivated. That intense motivation was tested to its absolute limits in 2006. After a World Cup incident where his United teammate Wayne Rooney was sent off and Ronaldo gave that infamous wink, English newspapers were literally printing dartboards with Ronaldo's face on them. He was public enemy number one, but instead of running away or crumbling, he completely flipped the narrative. Rooney supported him, and Ronaldo hit the gym so hard over the summer, he returned physically dominant, hyper-focused, and absolutely lethal, teaming up with Rooney to score 23 goals and win the Premier League title. He basically turned pure national hatred into rocket fuel.
Winning the league wasn't enough, though. He straight up told his coach he wanted to be the best player in the world. So they mapped out an obsession. He painstakingly analyzed his positioning from every conceivable angle, he perfected that legendary gravity-defying free kick technique, and he set an impossible target: 40 goals for the next season. It really goes to show that massive leaps in your own career require equally massive, clearly defined targets.
All of that meticulous preparation culminated in Moscow, the 2008 Champions League final against Chelsea. This was the ultimate cathartic climax. In the pouring Russian rain, he scored the opening goal with a towering, impossible header. But the game went to penalties, and he missed his spot kick. It looked like it was over, but unbelievably, Chelsea's John Terry slipped and missed his penalty too, and eventually, Manchester United won the European Champions League. It was the day Ronaldo had dreamed of his entire life, brought to tears on the pitch, wishing only that his father could have been there to see it.
And this brilliantly illustrates the heights he finally reached. He went from a skinny, homesick kid begging for burgers in Lisbon to sweeping every single major award on the planet: Premier League champion, Champions League winner, FIFA World Player of the Year, and his very first Ballon d'Or. He didn't just hit that 40-goal target we talked about earlier, he completely smashed it with 42. He was officially, undeniably, the undisputed best player in the entire world. Even after winning absolutely everything, his game was now just pure magic. In 2009 against Porto, he completely silenced booing fans with a staggering 64-mile-per-hour strike from 40 yards out, straight into the top corner. I mean, no way, right? It won the Puskas Award and proved once and for all that the so-called show pony had evolved into an unstoppable force of nature.
So, after 7 years of giving his absolute heart and soul to Manchester United, an era ended with a staggering number: £94 million. His world record move to Real Madrid was the absolute culmination of his rags-to-riches ascent. Think about it, the boy who was once bought for 20 footballs had become the most expensive and highly paid player on earth.
So we end this explainer today by asking a simple question: how much further can absolute obsession take you? We've just watched a kid use extreme poverty, a life-threatening heart condition, and brutal media criticism as the literal building blocks for global dominance. And the crazy thing? Leaving United was really just the prologue to his legendary career. The next time you face a massive setback, ask yourself, are you going to let it break you? Or are you going to use it to build your own empire?